pteranodon, moreover on the official server. I had some goals for this game, and at some times it looked pretty bleak with this flying creature, but it turned out she was really insanely lucky. And later I will also tell you what I think about official servers. So, the female caught a food for later, and later the game crashed. Alright, she survived that. And she almost didn't survive me not switching my keyboard layout. And here it was damn close too. Being scavenger doesn't always pay off. The female had no idea what was watching her. Luckily, she made it. And the raptor was the unlucky one. He definitely will not be hungry though. And thanks to this kind Allosaurus, our female won't go hungry either. Because he hunted a turtle for her. The huge meal needed to be washed down with a sip of fresh water. However, it was occupied. And not just from the outside. This water isn't very clean. Anyway, it was time for Entombed. And right at the start of her next life, look at that! What the fuck is this? Well, yeah, they didn't work. Her next task, to be able to drink seawater, completed. And on the way back to the beach, look how cold she was. No sun at all. Thank God that it was nice and warm at the destination when she arrived. Here I met another ptera. And here I almost pooped myself. The Elo decided to give us a turtle, even though just a moment before he and his mixbag had taken someone else down. So it seemed safer for the female to leave this place. I was flying around like crazy, trying to circle all possible zones. The ptera was clacking its beak as much as it could, but unfortunately none of these steps led to becoming a prime elder. So another Entombed came, and another life. Full of more opportunities. I had a feeling that this lake wasn't inhabited only by pteranodons. And besides, it was night, so the female couldn't catch a fish with her wings. So the very first thing at the dawn was to fill her belly. And then I noticed that a little further away there was something down on the ground. This tiny little guy all alone, who wasn't quite sure how to eat such a big fish. It was nice to see him filling his belly too. It looked like he belonged to that flock up above. By the way, flying all the way up there took half of my stamina. So hopefully those dinos won't took the female. Or anyone from that flock. Boldly, I headed straight for the strangers and tried to eat their fish, which backfired badly. The female threw up. So I decided to fly back to a safe place without crocodiles, to the little guy, to recover from that fish. And we chatted for a bit. The female then showed the young one how to get the food. So he gathered the courage for his own hunt afterward. Then the female pulled off an excellent landing. And another excellent fishing technique. They said goodbye. And our female decided to flew west again. But damn, that really drains stamina. And when she finally got there, she tried to build a nest, but the sticks were problem. Then I realized the issue was the sand. So I built the nest a bit closer to the forest. And it seemed to work. Sticks collected on grass worked fine. However, building the nest was energy consuming. And this ptera could become old at any moment and miss one of her goals. So she pushed herself and managed it. She laid eggs. She quickly went for a drink and rushed back as fast as possible, because the eggs were getting cold. Success! Offspring conceived. Parthogenesis, that's the mutation. And now it was necessary to teach the little one the basics of life. First flight, first landing, and first shared meal. I forgot to mention to baby that it shouldn't drink seawater. So we went to fix that at the upper pond. A little fish for the baby. And then I also wanted to take the youngster to a sanctuary, so it could tick off another task for becoming a prime elder. And soon after, it was time for another life. Since I had more or less completed everything, I just wanted to fly around and do stuff. So I greeted this hello, and he greeted back, hoping for some interaction. I decided to land near him, but he chose not to stay. So I figured I would head to the delta, where it's usually lively, and then this happened. But flying is just amazing, especially when you are gliding downhill and can hold control to speed up without draining stamina. I thought myself there'd be a croc here, but still I wanted to try hunting that little chick. So watch what happened next. The female had incredible luck, and it left her with PTSD. So really, the delta was busy. She hung around for a bit with another ptera. and for a while with some other crocodiles. Of course, she landed at a safe distance. However, this single crocodile mom clearly didn't welcome our pteranodon. And after the female moved on, she spotted not just one, but a whole family of tyrannosaurs. I really wonder if that croc was the mom or a different one. So I perched on a rock and watched the show. The whole Rex family made it, and the female followed them for a while. How beautifully they vibrate! She really didn't like crocodiles. Seems she wasn't the only one. Ptera girl caught a fish then and swallowed it with effort. Then, carrying a fish for later, she flew just for a little while. What wasn't nice was that after I looked back, I found the female completely out of stamina, right in this spot. She had to hide in a small bush. And actually, I was lucky, she had already aged, so I quickly used Entombed. And in her 5th life, the female met another pteranodon, and they stuck together for a quite while, and had lots of adventures. The mini-flock decided to head to their favorite western beach, and on the way, this happened. I thought no one would be around here, so I laid down peacefully, but then I heard something. I have no idea what this gesture means, but you can believe me, it almost scared the shit out of me. So we moved on, across the highlands, admiring a rainbow and landing on palms. I have to say, this official server is great. For example, there is recording via F2 possible, so you feel relatively safe. You don't need to deal with the rules, and the server is usually full. It really only depends on whether you accept the mix picking. But now you really need to pay attention to what happened next. My body needed water, and I had no idea what I had landed next to. There was Hera. My cowbird took a quick sip, and then we retreated to the top of a rock to rest and investigate. But the thirst problem of my mate still persisted, because she had only taken a small sip before. And in that thick fog I could barely see anything. Oh, blessed be woolnonut.com, because I could check that we were flying in the right direction. and my partner wouldn't die on first. Well, hopefully, since she didn't notice there was a predator on the shore when she was landing. I was so relieved she made it. You have no idea. But the calm didn't last long. My mate had to land on the ground, helpless, and those two definitely wanted to find her. Luck was on our side. Then I thought myself, we would go drink together, and if she fell, I would fall too. We survived! And after, we figured out why not to try building a nest. Two female pteranodons trying to restore the pteranodon population. But they had to hurry, because both were aging fast. So it was good for them. The female had brought a snack. She was already looking forward to eating it together on top of the rock. But look what happened. Must be that Hera from before. He stole our turtle steak. And then he annoyed their rock for a while. Finally, toward evening, they could continue building, which was exhausting. So the female wanted to save herself the trouble of finding food, which she shouldn't have done. Just barely. Or not? Yeah, it was close. The females had to process the situation on the beach and heal a bit. Then this tiny eye spawned, so let me introduce you to this whole fight. The female was incredibly pleased and brought her trophy to show her partner. But soon they remembered they had forgotten about the nest. Time was merciless, so they took turns bringing sticks. In the end, only 2 piles remained. The pteranodon, all excited, flew for more, and then this happened. She had to heal on the ground in broad daylight, out in the open, before she could finally finish the nest. And push out the eggs. Then, on the way for a drink, she noticed a herd approaching. But laying eggs is very dehydrating, so she had to risk it. And fast rushed back to the nest, because a new arrival was already waiting there. A tiny, hungry neck. And both pteranodons were properly proud of their offspring. Our female kept the nest warm, while her mate brought a food. They took great care of the baby, until one day it took its first flight. While the partner was gathering food, another baby was born, and not the only that. The partner also brought along a friend, so the flock grew up. This rather unusual and quite modern family lived peacefully on the rock. Unfortunately, one of the youngest broke its leg while training to fly. The new uncle kindly flew over to watch over him. But sadly, there was another obstacle for this youngster. It had unknowingly eaten a rotten fish earlier. So it was probably taken by dehydration or hunger. And although it was very sad, that's the life of pteranodons on this island. And the danger lurks everywhere. However, this female pteranodon continued to have an incredible amount of luck, constantly escaping all kinds of threats. So her life went on. She was sitting on the eggs, while her mate were brooding the food. And they all enjoyed their shared pteranodon moments. And since I had already done everything I wanted to try with Ptera, and this was already her 5th life, so I wasn't afraid of some action either. For example, driving Rexes away from food. And while sipping salt water together, the female pteranodons decided it was time to free up the nesting site for other pteranodons. And the female's mate then went her own way. However, the friend she brought earlier stayed a bit longer. Eventually, the female's daughter also decided to go off on her own, and after saying goodbye with a beautiful circling flight, the last remaining member of the flock showed our female where she could drink without fear of the dinos. I wanted to give this female some kind of dignified or action-filled ending. I thought 5 lives was really enough, and I couldn't keep reincarnating her. So we were looking for opportunities. But then something occurred to my mind. When you love pteranodons, you just love pteranodons. And this female had experienced so much. She deserved it. So what do you think? Am I a masochist? Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to leave a like, sub or comment.